Hey everybody!
Hi.
Welcome to hashtag Pastor Besties. I'm Nicole.
I'm Melissa.
And today we are talking about ordination.
I feel like there should be like trumpets or something. That have like that.
Ordination. And we have a special guest.
We do.
We're going to be talking to a newly ordained clergy person, Reverend Ethan Carnes. Today on hashtag Pastor Besties. Well, welcome, Ethan. We're so
Hello.
excited to have you.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, Ethan Carnes is a good friend of ours, a friend of the show, and kind of my brother from another mother. And we're excited to have you. You were just ordained back in June. And so we kind of want to hear your story. Like, what was it like? Was it what you expected, not expected? Tell us about it.
It's really, you go in thinking it's going to be something, and you expect it to be amazing, and then it just blows your mind even more, you know? And you wait your whole life for it almost.
Right.
You know, if you are called to pastoral ministry to be ordained, you look forward to that moment, you know, through college and seminary or whatever way your path takes you. And so it's like the pinnacle of your life almost, you know. I was up there with marriage, kids, stuff like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, you were called into ministry when you were really young.
I was, yeah.
And so you knew that day was coming for you for a really, I mean, like, we're talking years and years and years.
When did you know that you were called into?
Yeah, I knew I was called like when I was 8 years old.
Oh.
And so I was ordained when I was 26. So, yeah.
Well, almost 27.
Almost
Right,
27,
a couple
yeah.
months.
Yeah, a couple months.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's like 2 decades.
I could have went online and got it way faster. But I chose not to go that route.
Better life choices.
That is a better life choice. So tell us about the moment that the bishop, because in our tradition, we kind of have a special service for ordination, and you're up there with some important people, so like the bishop and some of your colleagues who have helped you along the way or whatever. So tell us about the moment.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's different in every conference. In our conference, there's like a 2-hour worship service, and it flies by, and the whole worship service is directed almost to you as the person who's going to be ordained. And so when the moment comes, you're asked to stand before the bishop in the conference.
Did you think you were going to puke?
I knew I was going to puke. I didn't do it, though. And your hands are sweaty, and you're going to make these promises that you have to uphold the rest of your life. And the church is taking this huge risk to say, you're going to lead us. And so you stand up there in front of everybody, and you answer those questions, and then the bishop calls your names to kneel before the bishop, and your DS comes up, and then you get to invite 2 clergy who are ordained, who've impacted your life, and you were up there with me. So you could talk about the experience.
I was crying ugly crying the whole time. I was my heart was bursting. I was so filled with joy for you.
Yeah.
It was a moment. I know I felt the Holy Spirit. I imagine you super felt the Holy Spirit.
Super felt.
Super felt.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was a great day.
It was. And so the bishop lays hands on you and, says, take thou authority. And once you hear those words, your life just changes. And I describe it as it's like being peppermint, liquid is poured over you, because you just have this tingly, holy feeling that you hear about and you read about and people talk about, but until you experience it, you never it's a once in a lifetime thing, and it never goes away.
God, I love it.
Yeah.
What about you, Melissa? Like, what was your moment when the bishop laid hands on you? What was that like for you?
I like danced the whole ordination service, legit. Like Bishop Hisu Young was the bishop who ordained me, and as I walked up to kneel down, he was like, "Oh, here's dancing Melissa." Like
you
legit,
were so
like
full
it
of
was,
joy.
Yeah, it was just joyful. It was. I think there was I don't know that I necessarily felt like the way that you described it, Ethan, is sort of like the heaviness of the moment, which is very true. I mean, this is a serious business, but I think that there had been so much leading up to it that it was just that moment was like, yes, this is it. And so there was just so much joy and delight. And for me, in our annual conference, we have one person who gets to come up with us.
Oh.
And the person who came up with me is the pastor who confirmed me. And he was also the chair of my district committee as I was going through the process. And so to have someone who had been with me as part of that, as part of my story, who had been through the ups and downs and highs and lows and the yeses and the nos, it was really great to have someone with me there.
I remember kneeling, and Bishop Palmer ordained me, and I love that man. But I remember feeling like an egg had been cracked on my head, like it was just like something was oozing down me, like the Holy Spirit was just like coming down all over me. And my family was there, of course, and Aubrey was a little over 1, and I could hear her just like kind of babbling, sort of talking, and I just remember thinking like it almost out of body, like, what is happening? It was so surreal, and I wish I could I can't, I can sort of explain it, but you can't really explain it, right? Mm-hmm. God, it's such a holy moment, and you just feel different. I don't know what it is, something it was a switch was flipped, and something was different in my life.
That first Sunday, the Sunday right after.
Yes.
Yeah, when I got to wear my stole for the first time.
Oh, you never feel more legit.
No.
Yeah.
And I thought I felt legit doing communion before that, but I don't know, wearing my stole and having taken thou authority, it just felt different.
Ordination.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much, like you said, there's so much prep time. For you, it was several decades. For me, it was a long time too. I was called when I was 16. You were called similarly, right?
Well, sure. When I answered the call in a ministerial fashion, I was in high school, or I had graduated from high school.
So it's a long process, and it's like that goal that you feel like you're never really going to get to because there's so many hoops that you have to jump through, so many things. And some of it's you got to go to college, 4 years, okay. Then you got to go to seminary, another 3 years, okay. So it just feels long. And then you got residence in ministry for Methodists, and wow.
And you have to answer questions. It's not just about the preparation. The preparation is you have to talk about your theology, and in the United Methodist Church, do you have a United Methodist theology or a Wesleyan theology? And what do you understand the sacraments? Do you understand the practice of ministry? And are you fruitful? Fruity, tooty?
Are you tutti frutti? Ethan, are you tutti frutti?
Tootie. Cut that out.
Oh no. Oh gosh. I recently had a friend who I was ordained with, Willie, and he traced his ordination back to John Wesley. And since we were ordained by the same person, I stole it as my own. Thanks, Willie. And I thought that was so neat to be able to see the line, in my case, of all men who had traced back to John Wesley. But then I was thinking about how John Wesley wasn't really legit to ordain anybody. He just sort of did it. He was just a pastor, and he ordained two people. I'm just going to ordain you, and then those people ordain people who ordain, down to us. And so, like, have you guys ever thought about that? Does it like freak you out a little bit, maybe? Like, I just think it's so, like, a little random.
Mm-hmm. About John Wesley and the succession line?
Yes.
Yeah. I really thought about that, in seminary and also preparing for this, and I thought, in the Hebrew tradition, they during the diaspora, they had to reconcile, well, where is God if God is not in the temple? And so they came up with this theology of divine presence. So God was always with them wherever they went, especially in diaspora. And I really thought about John Wesley and his culture and his time period and context and what that meant. And I really had to reconcile with that because I am somebody who subscribes to apostolic succession. And so I really had to think about that, and I thought, at that time, the church was in diaspora, and the presence had to move out of what was considered the temple, which for him was the Anglican Church.
Because God was put in a box. Yeah. God, that's a good thought.
That was good.
Dude, you should write a book. Ordination. It's just so, it's it's the best of all time.
Yeah.
I love my ordination service. I've never heard a sermon as good as the one that was preached at my ordination.
So I am the chair of the annual conference worship team in my annual conference, which plans the ordination service. And
that is like a task.
There is so much that goes into it. There's so much that you do in the service, and there's also so much ritual that even participating in the service, I didn't necessarily pick up on or know of as much, even down to this is where you stand, and here's why you stand here, and here's why you turn this way.
Very particular. There's thought behind all of it.
Yeah. So it's not just a random you look better if you stand there, or this you can get a better picture. There's a theological reason behind so many things. I'm sure that there's probably not in some places, but just how much thought that it's not. There's something extraordinary about this.
Yeah, I guess it's heavy, right? It's a call, it's a charge, and so it should be important. It should have a lot of weight to it, and so the service should bear that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet, I think, again, for me, there was that celebration. I think there's joy and delight. I think that there's the heaviness and the authority that you take on, and yet also a part of our spiritual journey and our spiritual task is joy and delight and wonder. And so even in our ordination is how you joy and delight and wonder at the same time.
I remember my cheeks hurt so bad because I was smiling so freaking big the whole night.
Yeah.
That was so great.
I also think to ordination, there's also, with the joy, there's also a real sense of mourning, so to speak. You're giving up your life, to give your life to the church officially. There's no going back, so to speak.
Right.
It's true.
That's a good thought.
It's true.
Important, heavy, joyful, really just all the feels.
Yeah.
All the feels.
Yeah. That should be the tagline, ordination. Feel all the feels.
I love it. Well, we want to hear your story of ordination, or if you've ever taken a part in a service for it, or if you have questions about ordination, comment below because we want to know.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story, Ethan.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan.
Yeah, thank you.
So whether you are called into ordained ministry or not, you're called. And for those who are called into ordained ministry, this is a particular calling and a place where God has called and equipped you and your call has been confirmed by your community. So as you live into whatever it is that your call is, know that God goes with you.
See you guys next time. Bye.